Ready? We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's now 4:30, February the 20th. And on the agenda, I failed to put on the invocation and pledge. It's normally a Zoom meeting, but we've elected to have it in person. So if everyone could stand, Colton Simpson will lead us in the invocation, then we'll do the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day. We're thankful for the sunshine and the continued blessings of life. And Lord, I just ask that you report this evening and give them guidance and direction. And may all that they do be glorifying to you. And Lord, we just ask you to continue to bless this county and this community as a whole. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
to the republic
States
which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All may be seated. Jen, if you could call roll.
Magistrate Humphrey.
Present.
Magistrate Coldine.
Present.
Magistrate Riley.
Present.
Judge Chuck Dills.
Present. Item 3 is approval of the regular meeting minutes for February 6, 2024.
I make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of February the 6th, 2024 as presented.
I will second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Codarn and a second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to number 4, fiscal matters. A, approval of the claims on the general fund, the road fund, the jail fund, along with all transfers presented dated February 20th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims on the general fund, road fund, and jail fund, along with all the transfers presented dated February 20, 2024 as presented.
I will second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, a second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Item B, approval to amend the county clerk's budget for 2024, the CPI adjustment as a whole. You all have that in front of you, and also Tabitha Clemens, our county treasurer, is here if anyone has a question. This is something we do every year as soon as we receive the CPI from the Department of Local Government.
I'll make a motion to amend the county clerk's budget for 2024, the CPI adjustment as a whole.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, second by Magistrate Codarn. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item C, this is for approval for the second reading of ordinance 0001-2024-0268 regarding the text amendment on glamping park. Before I have a motion, does anyone have any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 0001-2024-0268 regarding the text amendment on glamping park.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, a second by Magistrate Codarn. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item D, present for a motion in accordance with the provision of KRS 64.527 to adjust the compensation for 2024 of the members of the Grant County Fiscal Court, being the magistrates and the Grant County Coroner, in an amount of 3.4% as determined by the Department of Local Government, retroactive January 1st, 2024. Since I don't apply to this one, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion myself. I just need a second.
I'll second.
A motion made by myself, Judge Dills, a second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item E, present for a motion in accordance with the provision of KRS 15.765 to adjust the compensation for the 2024 of the Grant County Attorney in the amount of 3.4% as determined by the Department of Local Government, and that's to be retroactive January 1, 2024.
I make a motion in accordance with the provisions of KRS 15.765 to adjust the compensation for 2024 for the Grant County Attorney in the amount of 3.4% as determined by the Department of Local Government, retroactive January 1st of 2024.
I'll second.
I second.
No, you go.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Codorn.
There we go.
All in favor by saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to item F. Motion to appoint Sandra Tabeline as interim animal shelter labor active March 4th, 2024. One of the full-time employees is having some surgery, so she's going to be out, and Sandra is going to cover on a part-time basis while she's out. Just so you all know, she's a lady that's worked there off and on, I think, volunteering.
I make a motion to appoint Sandra Tabling as an intermittent animal shelter laborer active March 4th of 2024.
I second.
A motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Codorn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears all in
Aye.
favor, motion carries. Moving down to item G. I have before you asking for approval of a fee schedule for the Grant County Park venues and shelters. And just to bring you up to date, I don't know when the last time, I know since
It's been a while.
I've been here, and maybe Sean and Jacqueline's been in these positions longer than I have, and Roger, they haven't been adjusted. And they're set very low, and even the adjustment we have on the schedule is not a major adjustment. What we refer to the cattle barn, and I actually got something set on the agenda on the next thing for a motion to rename some of the venues at the park because they've went by names when the Grant County Fair was there, that we no longer keep cattle in the cattle barn. So, but the one we refer to as the cattle barn, it's been $100, and it's cheap, and I want to keep it reasonable for our citizens of the county to rent. So we've looked at utility bills, and I've talked to Jen on a few utility bills, just looking to see that they're not costing us money. Like I said, not wanting to make money, but want to have it where we can recoup our utilities and then have a little bit of funds that we can continue to improve these venues. Because the newest one we've got down there is actually very nice, and it's compatible to any of the high-end venues that we have in the county now. So you all have it in front of you. The other issue, and I've talked to Peggy on this, we've always charged a $50 deposit whenever you rent. So, for example, the Lloyd's Welfare House rented for $200, or actually $250, but 50 of it was a deposit. The thing I started noticing every time we approve claims, we're returning, and I'm cutting checks. Peggy's making checks for, I mean, I've signed up 15 to 20 at one time, especially in the summer, and then we're having to mail it out with postage, these refunds. So I spoke to the parks personnel, and asked them, how often do we keep these deposits? And since I've been here, maybe once in 5 years. So I just don't see that feasible. So I've asked him, being Tony and Chris there at the park, they're drafting a new application, and we're going to have on it that they'll be responsible for a $100 cleanup fee, plus the language as it continues to be an application. If they damage property, there'll be a charge for damage to the property. So I figured what we do is we would rent it out with no deposit with that language in it. I'll have Stephen look at the application once we get done on the legalities of it. But if it's totally not cleaned, it's a mess, we'll contact them either by phone, mail them an invoice to clean it, if it's not paid, we always have the option to take them to small claims court. But I figured in the last 5 years, we've only had one or two that
Right.
Yeah.
we've had an issue
Well-
with. We're spending more money.
Well, and administratively, because you are writing the claims every month. There, I mean, a good decent amount, especially in the peak season. That's a lot of work.
Yes. That happens
And the post-
more often of not cashing the checks, because on the shelters, they're $25.
Makes
You
sense.
know.
I think it's a good.
So anyway, on the welfare house, we went from $200 was actually the rent to $250. We raised it $50 and these are all rented per day. And then on the newest shelter, which we're going to name, the one I'm going to refer to is the old fair kitchen building that we've completely redone, gutted the inside, and it's very nice inside with a full kitchen. We're asking $400, which is way under what our local venues of that size is renting for. But also, if it stays rented like I believe it will, at least 2 or 3 times a week, then it's going to not only pay the utilities, but it's going to reimburse us for the money that we invested in the venue. So that's on there. The shelters, we went from $20 on all the shelters except shelter 3 to $25. And shelter 3 that we were getting $25 for, we moved it to $50. It's our largest one. It's right beside the new venue. So, and the plans are at some point of us connecting a roof to that venue and that shelter, a breezeway. So if it's sprinkling, raining, you can go from the breezeway outside in the summer to inside the building. So that's all the changes on the fee schedule. If everyone's agreeable with it, I'd like a motion to accept them.
I'll make a motion to accept the Grant County Parks rental fee schedule modification.
And I tell you what I didn't put in there. I'd like to make it effective March 1st.
Okay, effective March 1st,
Yes.
2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, and a second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
I've got an aye from Shauna. All in favor, motion carries. Which moves us down to approval to rename the Grant County Park venues. I don't know that that's totally something probably on the motion, but I'm very transparent, and I want the fiscal court to be a part. And I've already presented a bunch of names to you that came from the parks on the new names. And I'm asking for a motion that, one, Lloyd's Wildlife House will continue to be Lloyd's Wildlife House. That what we refer to as the cattle barn now becomes the bluegrass barn. And we would get a nice signage to put on that barn identifying it as our rental venue. And then on what I keep referring to as the old fair kitchen, it becomes the Oaks Grove venue. And that name is based off the fact that all the trees right around that building are all large oak trees. So Parks thought that would be fitting to call it the Oaks Grove venue.
Lloyd's Welfare.
Did I say?
And guess what? We knew what
Yes,
you meant.
it's on the Facebook. Yeah. I apologize. Yeah, it's wrote Lloyd's
Come on,
Welfare
it's
House.
Wild West.
Well, it is Lloyd's
Not
Wildlife,
Roberts District.
but that's Lloyd's Welfare House. So, yeah.
So I think all of those sound great.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the renaming of the Grant County Park venues as presented.
I
Okay.
will second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Codar, a second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor by saying aye.
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 It appears all in favor. It's been renamed, so effective March 1. I'll add that to it. That'll be the official renaming. So they'll, on those new applications that they're putting together, that will be the names on the application.
And
It may take a year or two to quit calling it the names that we've called it for many years, but I thought it was time to rename them, especially the new venue.
And Judge, thank you for the role that you've played in getting the old Fair Kitchen, the Oaks Grove venue, updated, because it truly is going to be a super nice asset that is set there empty and unused for how many years? And for,
25 years or 30.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it's sit there unused.
But it's a concrete, I was just saying, the structure,
The shell
it's solid
is great.
concrete building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not block, it's
and-
poured concrete.
I definitely think the citizens are going to be impressed with having another venue to be able to host retirement parties, graduation parties, weddings. Like, it is really nice.
And I think, Shauna, you had asked about the capacity, and I didn't realize
Yes.
this. Tony Hall had already spoke. Calvin Crupper was down, and Calvin served for a long time as a fire marshal. Based off the square foot, he said that at least 75 people that it will hold, and that's why we have that many chairs down there. There's 9 tables, and I think about 75 chairs. 9
Good.
big round tables.
Well, and the restrooms, like, all handicap accessible.
Yeah,
so
and
it's
that's
just-
another thing.
Tables.
The men and women's restrooms are all handicap accessible. With we went with the nice hand dryers in it, so we eliminate the use of paper towels.
Nice kitchen area, new.
Yeah, in the
lights.
kitchen with a stove, microwave, refrigerator,
And the countertop.
and a large serving countertop. So,
Yep.
if anybody's down there, take a look. If the parks office is open, ask to look at it. If not, you look in the window and see in the building. So,
Well,
I
the
think-
cattle barn is really had a great improvement as well. It's not like
Yeah.
it used to be, and it's a really nice venue now.
One, I think as we continue to generate more revenue, putting it back in for other upgrades. So
yeah.
nice. Thank you.
Okay, moving down to item I, approval of resolution 2024-04 to reappoint Melissa Moss as our FEMA applicant. I don't know, and I know that Rick has served in that spot before. They had sent for a resolution to reappoint her or appoint somebody. I guess every so many years that you have to do that, so.
That, and I think to qualify for the training that they offer.
And that's been another issue because of COVID.
It's so backlogged.
Yeah, it's so backlogged that I'm hoping at some point here we can get her official training. She's received some training and guidance,
But not the full.
but not what's really needed. It's just they haven't offered it.
I make a motion to reappoint Melissa Moss to serve as the designated applicant agent for the FEMA assistant, as the FEMA assistant, active February 20th of 2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Riley, a second by Magistrate Humphrey. All in favor saying aye.
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 Appears all in favor, motion carries. And also I'll add, and I saw the email copied, I think, to Shauna.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the delay, and it's on Eagle Tunnel. That's
Been over 3 years?
3-4 years
3 or 4
that
years.
they finally
Delay.
came out and done final inspection on it. So that's the delay of getting this final inspection so we can get reimbursed for funds that the county's utilized. Moving down to item J. Motion to adopt a standing procedure to authorize the county treasurer to transfer funds from the general fund to the jail fund when needed to cover payroll gap only. And I'll speak on that a little bit, and Peggy's here present. If you all know, in a lot of our meetings that we'll, especially on our off weeks of the meeting, and it's a payroll week, if Peggy hasn't received the check from the Department of Corrections, she doesn't know if it's coming in. If we don't go on and make a motion to approve a transfer, then, so there's no telling how many times we'll make a motion to approve a $100,000 transfer that never happens. But it gives the appearance at these meetings that we're constantly transferring funds that never get transferred.
Exactly, yeah.
Because a week and a half later, the funds are in the account to be able to, in their budget for the payroll.
It is
So,
confusing.
did I speak correctly on that, Peggy?
Yep.
Okay.
Will you continue the practice of just an email as a heads up as to if
Yes.
you do it? Because in the past you would send us like if we didn't.
Well,
do
and
it,
I was going to add to that.
like administratively like a heads up.
The question that was asked to the Department of Local Government, every year we approve the standing order, which covers payroll, insurance, and the utility bills. We asked them about if we could use that, if we could do that as a standing order also.
Mhm.
But because it's a transfer from one fund to the other fund, that really doesn't work under a standing order.
Yep.
So they emailed Peggy and said their recommendations is do it as a standing procedure and then authorize her to do it, and it's for this purpose only. And then what will happen, the next court meeting, it'll be on there on the transfer, just like it would be on the utility bills. When we pay the utility bills, it's on the next meeting transfer that those utility bills were paid. So if anyone has any questions on it, I'll try to answer. If not, Peggy's here with us. If not, I need a motion to adopt the standing procedure.
I'll make a motion to adopt as standing procedure to authorize the county treasurer to transfer funds from the general fund to the jail fund when needed to cover payroll gap only.
I will second.
I second.
I have a motion made by Magistrate Humphrey, a second by Magistrate Riley. All in favor saying aye.
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 It appears all in favor, motion carries. Moving down to old business, I don't have anything to report on. On new business, and I'll just go on and add this to new business. Just letting you know that we've put an ad out for cleaning of everything except the Justice Center, and the reason why, Ronnie Maines had that cleaning contract.
Yeah.
It's coming up for expiring in March,
Oh, okay.
and we need to put it out for rebid.
Again. Okay.
Susan Clark was gracious enough, who had the contract at the Justice Center, to honor his contract for the remaining term of the contract. But for all transparency, we need to put it back out for contract.
So it will be published in the Grant County News?
Yes,
Next
Colton
week,
got
or-
the ad out to the Grant County News,
Okay.
and it comes out this Thursday in the newspaper, and then I have it here in front of, it's right here. Sealed bids
Chuck,
should
when
be
is-
delivered. Somebody.
When's the deadline for the bid to begin?
That's what I'm getting ready to read.
Okay.
Sealed bids for the janitorial service should be delivered by 4 p.m. on Friday, March the 15th, 2024, to Jenna Johnson's Grant County Courthouse. It's got our address. So it's going to be March 15th, and then after we receive the bids, I'll call a meeting of the bid committee to open the bids. So
And that-
anyone out there interested in bidding on it, we have a sheet that's here at the courthouse that you can pick up on the bid. We're going to have a bid meeting set for pre-bid meeting, as we did last time, set for March 4th, 2024 at 10 a.m. So that way, anyone that's interested in bidding, the vendors can meet us at that time and date on the 4th, and we'll go over particulars that may or may not be listed on the sheet.
Yeah, so a walk through the
Yes.
facilities in which they would be seeking the contract to clean.
Yes.
That's great. Okay.
Can we put that ad also on our
Facebook?
social media,
Yes.
on our account?
Yes. So, Colton, you take care of that? So I don't need a motion. I just want to let you all know we've put that out for bid. And then, obviously, once the bid committee's reviewed the bids, we'll be back to the court meeting to approve them.
And that contract expires, is it May?
March 1st.
Is
doesn't
it March?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're extending, as she is too,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, moving down to judge's report. I don't have anything major to report on, and I know that we've all been part of some conversations off and on amongst each other. We're looking at these tennis courts, and Stevens talked his dad into helping us too. He's working, and Steven had pulled information up through is it the National Tennis Association? United States Tennis Association. They have grant money out there that can be utilized, and then, there's some other partnerships that are out there that is offered to help us out too, of putting in some tennis courts, because the school system is liking in tennis courts for their students to practice on, and also to have tournaments on, because as you know, really the only good tennis court right at the moment is at Petal Park. There's 2 courts there. There's one at Webb Park. Is it even usable right now? I don't think it's usable. They're supposed to be going to work on it, but that's the only tennis courts in the county right now. There's been a request not only by the school system, they're ones that's willing to look at doing some partnership on it, of us trying to create it. And we've looked at a couple locations at the Grant County Park, and I think looking at it, and I was just back down at the park again, that where the tractor pull area was when the fair was there, that area is about 400 feet in length. It's about 100 feet or so in width. It looks like that we could possibly run 4 end to end in that location. I spoke right just prior to the meeting. Steve Bates had called me, and he is reaching out to the lady that is sort of the representative with the Tennis Association tomorrow. They will provide actually input and designs of it and all free of charge. So we'll let them come down, look at what we've got, look at the area we're looking at, let them make the recommendations, and then we'll start to put together some pricing and go to these other entities to help fund it.
Does both school systems have tennis programs? I thought that
Yes.
Grant and Williamstown did.
So anyway, that's really the only thing I had to report on it. I know that road department, thank goodness we didn't have to use any salt the other day, that it melted fairly quick. The price of that salt, it just goes through me to throw it down on the road and watch it get rinsed away the next day. So luckily we didn't have to use any, and they didn't have to come out. So hopefully we don't have any more bad weather. I know they're out this time of year, they're patching potholes. So if anybody has any potholes, I normally don't have to tell anybody, they'll call. So, magistrate report. Roger, anything to report on?
No, sir.
Jacqueline?
Just a few updates. Just continuing to coordinate with Brian Miles on some non-compliance with county ordinances as it relates to property. And then just as an update to the citizens, the road department last month had a conference call with the Grant County School Bus Transportation Director, Mike Wright. We had a really good discussion on making sure with the county road supervisor that we've got the right pecking order of bridges and waterways from a prioritization standpoint that need to be replaced or repaired as we have funding and as we coordinate with the state. So we just had a really good discussion with him, which Mr. Wright and Mr. Tatum talk constantly, but it was helpful to hear from him to make sure that we got the prioritization accounted for as we think of future projects.
Okay. Sean, anything to report on?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. And Colton, if you don't mind, I don't mean to put you on the spot because I didn't even speak to you about it. If you touch base on our meeting about the broadband.
Yeah, so Judge Dills and myself met with Chris Courtney and Jeff from the Northern Kentucky Area Development District, and they're doing a broadband initiative. There's some federal grant money that came down, and what they're wanting to do is have us look at a map, and our job is to look on their map and see if places that they think has broadband, we need to tell them if actually these places do not have broadband. So that's the first step in the process, and hopefully we can challenge their map, and there's actually more people out there that we can help. And we also know that broadband is a significant issue in the modern workforce and modern education. So we want to make sure that this broadband opportunity comes to fruition. So any help that the community could input would be great.
And Colton sent out notification to all the stakeholders, being the school systems, checking, and they're doing a little bit of checking to see if they can identify addresses. They know students, but they believe, I spoke to Mr. Sloan, the superintendent at Williamstown School last night. He was just following up and was asking a few questions, but he's checking with their IT personnel to see if they can associate the address, because that's what we're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't know where the student lives. They'll know, and if they can sort of cross-reference the location. And basically, we're verifying if they're truly getting what they're supposed to be getting.
I know we've had some hits on social media. People responded back saying, that they don't have broadband. And to be honest with you, those was areas that were supposed to have been covered before and just never did. They ran out of money before they got to them.
Yeah.
Well, and as Shauna and I have kept our homemade Excel file list through the years, if we can just continue to get those dates or addresses so that we can cross-reference them too. So if you run across any of them, we can continue to consolidate on our end as well. Because one thing that there's a difference from having accessibility versus affordability. And so one thing that I think has happened over the last couple years is broadband is more readily available, but can the citizen, can the individual afford it? And so that will be another hurdle, I think, to ensure that we're talking apples to apples as we collect this data, because there's also what comes home with the school system is the ability to have your monthly payment for the broadband reduced, but you have to apply for it, and I think that's through the federal grant process. I've at least seen it sent home with my boys from Mason.
And it expires this year.
That
$30, not $30 off.
That's what I recall, something
Yeah.
like $30.
But I know all the cable and Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi people now are sending out saying, "Hey, contact your representatives and say, hey, this is still needed."
Yep.
Yes.
So let us know the.
Well, that's what this federal funding.
I want to say one more thing is there's a difference also between having internet and having broadband. So just
Oh, yeah.
because a house has internet doesn't mean they have broadband. So
I
that's
see.
those are the houses, those are the people that we're trying to reach.
Got it.
And then another note, and I know that I passed up my comments and went on to the magistrates, but several weeks ago, Colt and myself met with Duke Energy's representative and talked about several different things. And I was just going to bring it up because I actually got somebody asked me again yesterday, and this I've had several ask. Warsaw Road, what's going on out there? There's flags running continuous out Warsaw Road.
That was on social media. People were
Yes.
wanting to know, what is this about?
I've had probably at least a half a dozen or more people off and on ask. I'd be in a store and get stopped. By the way, what's going on Warsaw Road? The state is doing some safety improvements on Warsaw Road, signage, some ditching, new culverts. I don't know they're doing much widening or changing of the roadways, but they're fixing some shoulders and things like that on Warsaw Road. And then Duke Energy is following in behind them and doing new upgrades on their infrastructure, the gas line that's running out there at the same time. Since the state's going to be out there doing ditching, they're doing their sort of partnered with the state at the same time. So that's what's going on, which brings another question is, and I don't want to go into any details publicly, but Duke, I brought up a question about an area that has a large residence and access to a gas line of getting it out that road. So they contacted me back. They said, if they had at least 50-some% of the people out there interested switching their propane over to gas, they may be interested. So I'm working on now how to handle that. If I can officially go on and put out a survey to these 400-some residents,
Oh, yeah.
if most of them, and I believe most of them have propane, would be interested that they would run that gas line in that area, so, and be able to get natural gas. So that's something we're working on right now. Okay. Moving on down to citizens address. Anyone in the audience have any questions? Les?
I was just going to comment about the tennis courts. Have you thought about putting lighting up?
Yes.
In the old days, when I used to play, you used to have to pay for your lighting, because lighting is expensive. And you can put a meter out there and just drop coins in, and for an hour you can have lights. I mean, the burn lights out there when there's nobody out there is a waste.
Yeah.
I believe Dry Ridge was doing that for a while on some of their,
Yeah, you used to see that. You don't see that anymore. I don't know why not, but
I mean, you're right. To
but
not,
you,
to have
that's a
it
great idea, and I
not
think it should be,
used.
yes.
And I don't think that the people that
Uh,
would mind paying for lighting as long as
yeah.
court time is free.
Well, basically, depending on grants and how much funding we get, is how nice we make it. But yes, lights is a definite for them to play after hours, especially as we get into the time change. So,
And if anybody out there knows of any corporations or corporate industry that would like to chip in on this, this would be a good time to get some tax write-offs for them.
so. Anyway, Les,
Did you all get your email today from me?
Yes, thank
Heathen
you.
Ridge, Eagle Tunnel, we did the final site visits on them. Heathen Ridge, where they repaved that, you do have some settling in there.
Settling, yes.
I did notice that today while we were out there.
Dry Ridge Mountain Zion Road, we have the same issue.
Eagle Tunnel looked
Yeah.
real good. The lady said she'd like to get it wider, but I told her she'd have to call you.
Sure. We'd
With
like
that,
to
the
road.
final hazard mitigation plan has been published, and that's being reviewed by FEMA, and that's basically mitigation funding to prevent disasters. So we were applying money grants for that. Me and Colton have been on several of those meetings. But that's all I have for y'all. Just want to make sure you got everything.
Okay. Anybody else? Debbie?
Thanks, Les.
Yeah, thanks, Les.
So I always have to have a couple questions. Mainly, this is just for clarification. I was curious, you were talking about the jail fund and the standing thing and showing how it leaves out of the general fund into the jail fund, and then you get the money. How do you show where it goes back in? Do you have the same?
It doesn't ever transfer. That's why it doesn't transfer.
It doesn't?
No, that's what I'm saying. We'll, like today's meeting, we put in for a transfer to it next week, which this is payroll week. But if next week was payroll week, by then, Department of Corrections, they're already running how far behind? Week or so behind. So the money would come in
Right.
and the transfer would never be made.
So the
But
transfer.
you're also asking reimbursing it if it does transfer. No, because once it's transferred from the general fund to the jail fund, there is no refunding money from the jail fund to the general fund.
Right.
Because
Okay.
we're obligated to fund it.
Right. So both of them goes into the jail fund. Is that right? So-
Yes, so that means that the next several weeks, we may not have transfer.
Probably the reimbursement and the transfer.
Yeah, because.
If I explain this,
Okay.
usually what happens is, I ask for a transfer to cover payroll next Friday, and I comes up and I get the money from the state. I don't need to make that transfer, because I've got money coming into the account, so what I do is, I just void that transfer that I requested from the court, because I cannot make a transfer unless I have the court's approval.
Right, right.
So when this transfer, that is standing,
Procedure?
procedure that I'm asking for, this is in the case that I ask for a transfer and this money comes in, but it isn't enough to cover it. It'll allow me to get that gap. Let's say it comes in 150 and I do 160. So I would make a $10,000 transfer to cover the gap between what we initially got in from the state.
But I think the other question Debbie has, and that can happen, is that we do payroll out on Tuesday for Friday. She does that transfer to make it, and then Wednesday, that check comes in.
Right.
It goes in that account, so that means that we've got extra money at that point. So by next time payroll comes around, we probably have sufficient funds to make the payroll.
And that's where the
Yes.
void comes in? That the money comes, you said you void if the money's coming in?
If I have enough money to cover the payroll, I void that transfer.
Right.
The request to transfer.
Right.
I just void that request and use, because I have enough money.
And the thing is, we're aware of that transfer not going, but the public's not.
Right.
So it sounds like that every time we're transferring money and we're not, all of us know that the transfer wasn't made because of corrections made their payment.
Right.
But
And that's why I'm asking, because I'm the
Yeah.
public.
Yeah, well, and Debbie, another thing, like this money from the state, it is based off of heads and beds that are state inmates. And we never know what that monthly payment will be until they itemize their books and request for payment from the Department of Corrections, which is what our state inmates, provide funding for. And it's never consistent or the same. The process is, but the reimbursement amount to the counties depends on the inmate population.
Right. Yeah, I know, like, the budget is based on inmate population and all that.
And we do our best to project what we think it will be next year, but it's just the best guess, which is why they allow us to do transfers.
Okay. Who do they contact for the potholes?
Steve Tatum, the county road supervisor. That's who initially, I mean, a lot of times they'll call the courthouse and speak to Jenna, and we refer them to Steve Tatum, or if they contact me or say something, I'll call Steve myself. But
I was just going to see if I could help take the middle.
yeah, if you want to put the road department number,
Sure. What is it?
it's in my phone.
I just call Steve Tatum.
Yeah.
We better not put his
Yeah.
phone down. He'll get real mad.
Well,
We'll
that's
get it
why I
for
was
you.
asking, because I don't want
Yeah, after the meeting, I'll give you the road department. I'm just used to hitting Steve's name in my phone, whether it's the office or the cell phone.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd want to do, I don't think he would like that.
I
Yeah.
believe it is 859-823-4851, according to.
Yes,
the
that sounds
internet.
right.
823-4851.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
The day of remembering people's phone numbers
Just-
passed.
Yeah.
You
We
just pull
call-
the name up.
Yeah, we email, text, and-
Yeah, we constantly, as magistrates, are always
Right.
getting emails or texts.
which
or
are very helpful.
phone calls, or
Yeah.
if you're out in public, hey, by the way, you know this. Plus, I know I do, and I'm sure the other masters do as well. I travel every road in my district at least 2 times a month, which is a lot of miles, actually.
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah,
can't
well,
claim them.
and we can't claim mileage, so, you know.
I know potholes are sneaky.
The one
Oh,
thing
my God.
I want to
Oh.
encourage is when a pothole is reported, when the person reporting it can give a address, it really helps Steve out a whole lot.
Like what is
And just saying, the pothole on such and such road, they can give the location address. It really helps.
Okay,
Thanks, Shauna.
good. I'll definitely make sure to do that. Colton, do they contact you with questions or stuff about broadband?
Sure. Yes, please.
Okay.
And you could put his phone number in the paper.
Here,
Yeah,
let me get that for
I'll
you.
do that.
Let me get that for you.
Yes.
No. I'll give them your email and stuff, and then the
Perfect.
office number.
Great.
Okay. And then, which road were you talking about putting the gas on?
I really don't want to go public with that road at this time.
Of course you would have to.
I had to ask.
No, and I'm not trying to hide anything. I don't want to ruin anything with trying to work something out with Duke Energy.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I got.
Happy belated birthday, too.
Oh, thank you.
And before I go into Germany, does anybody else have anything to speak in the public? I just want to let everybody know I've called for the Board of Ethics to meet Thursday, where every year we're required by ordinance to fill out our financial disclosures, all the elected officials in the county. Dave Rose is gracious enough to serve as one of the 3 board members on the Board of Ethics, so they'll be meeting Thursday at 9 a.m. And then next meeting, I'll report their report after if there's any issues. I don't see that there's any issues, but
Closely.
Well, the way you were framing it, I thought, oh, do we have issues?
yeah, no.
Initially, I was like, oh.
Just standard procedures of following the ordinance. That we've all filled out the ethics report required by ordinance and required by law. And now I called for the ethics board to review them all. If they have any questions, they'll definitely let us know.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Dave, for serving on that. And sorry about the 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. It's trying to make everybody's schedule work.
You know, and that's something else, we've all talked about the different committees and so forth for the different districts and everything. Finding people to serve on these committees and districts it's hard.
Yeah, Debbie serves on the 109 board. So
But
thank
it's hard
you
to find people that want to serve.
There is a series going to be coming out in the paper here in the next little bit about boards and commissions and how they can apply.
Oh,
Good.
that'd be great.
That would be great.
Yeah. So.
Good.
Yeah, because
We've had
we
people-
do. We struggle with trying
Yeah.
to find people to serve on boards.
And I'll be honest with you, we've had people that say, yeah, I'll serve on that board, and they serve a couple meetings. They say, well, I don't want to be on there no more.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's one of the things that's very important, is the description of it, and what so I think sometimes people will get on a board or commission and they don't realize, they see the name of it,
exactly.
and then when they go to the board, it's like, that's not what I expected.
Well, that happened on the 109 board. I had a couple people said, well, I'd like to be on that board, and we got them on the board and appointed them. And once they went to the meetings, they learned the law and what you could and what you couldn't do. They said, this isn't for me.
Like water district.
Water
Yeah.
districts,
Yeah.
sewer districts.
Well, and the other hurdle, and I've spoke pretty clear about it, I don't want to put anybody on the board if they have an axe to grind. That's not who we're looking for
Right.
for board members. We want someone that's interested in whatever that board is. They're not getting on that board just because they had a run-in with whatever that board is,
Exactly.
thinking that they're going to be able to make issue, and that's not the purpose of serving on the boards. So, yeah, so, yeah.
Can we have an alphabetized listing of the boards and the members that are on it?
Yes. And we try to, it is somewhat a full-time job to keep the appointments up. I know that's,
It is.
if you notice, in
There's
a lot of
a
our
fact.
meetings, but we have it on our website, the listing of the boards.
And the dates of these boards are staggered throughout the year, so it, like Chuck said, it's hard to keep track of. And some of these board members, like you know, their term expires this year, and another member on the same board might expire next year, so you gotta try to keep all those.
And a lot of them's by statute that they stagger. A lot of them
And
require,
some-
we try to stagger them whether statute says that or not, but
Yep, and then some have unincorporated representation and then incorporated city representation. So it also depends on the board as to who does the appointing,
yeah.
which ultimately these boards represent us, so it's a good thing, but it is also an administrative task to keep up with that too.
Okay. If we don't have anything else, I want to remind everyone that we're going to have a Zoom meeting February 23rd at 9 a.m. So this Friday at 9 a.m. is our next meeting by Zoom. And that's the only thing we have on the agenda is the amending of the current budget for the revenue to come in for the replacement of the new roofs on the Judicial Center across the street, and also transferring the remaining amount of the ARPA fund to the road fund for bridge replacement. So that's the reason for the amendment, just to allow that revenue to come in to take care of that. And then our next meeting will be held in person Tuesday, March 5th at 4:30 p.m. Anyone else doesn't have anything? I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
A motion been made by Magistrate Riley, second by Magistrate Codarn. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
If there's all in favor, we're now adjourned. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.